just the gravity of knowing that I now had to raise a boy to be a man, and questioning my own manhood. Am I even a man? And how am I going to raise this boy to be a man if I'm not even sure that I'm a man or what kind of man I am? So that's really where it started, where God started to impress upon my heart that something wasn't right or something needed to change.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Andy Spell, and I get to be part of the podcast with the Crucible Project. And I am so very excited to be interviewing one of the great guys in the Crucible Brotherhood, John Owen. I'm excited, Johnny, that you're here this morning. So, John, when did you do your initial weekend?
My initial weekend was January 2009.
All right. And where did you do that?
I was in Brownwood, Texas.
Awesome. So one of the questions I'm always going to ask every person I interview is, what led up to you thinking about doing a men's weekend called Crucible? What was going on in your life that had you say, I think I want to step into a weekend like this, a men's weekend?
Man, this is really crazy, because right now, as I'm sitting here, my son Luke, who is 12, is in the room with me. So he's on a computer, he's playing Minecraft. He's probably not paying too much attention, but now that I've said his name, he's listening. So it really started in May of 2008 when he was born. And he was my second kid. I had a little girl named Hannah. But Luke came along and I had a son, and it just, the gravity of knowing that I now had to raise a boy to be a man, and questioning my own manhood. Am I even a man? And how am I going to raise this boy to be a man if I'm not even sure that I'm a man or what kind of man I am? So that's really where it started, where God started to impress upon my heart that something wasn't right or something needed to change. I had heard from a mentor, some person influence in my life had said, surround yourself with people who you want to be like, or who make sure that you have mentors in your life. And at the time, I went and sought out a man named Matt White, who I had looked up to. And so I just approached him and I said, hey man, this is going to sound weird, but would you be willing to mentor me? And he said, what, why? And I was like, I just don't feel like I'm the man that I'm supposed to be. I don't feel like I'm being the man I'm supposed to be. I don't feel like I'm being the husband I'm supposed to be. And now I'm a dad and I have a son, and I just look up to you, and I just wonder if you'd be willing to pour into me. And he ultimately said yes. And then a couple of months into that, he said, hey, I'm going to go on this men's weekend with my friend Roy Wooten. They've got spots available. Would you like to come? And I said, absolutely. I mean, without hesitation, I didn't even know what it was. And I said, yep, I'm in. If you're going, I'm going.
Dude, that is awesome that you just trusted a mentor. One, that's so awesome that he said yes. And number two, that he invited you to go with him on a journey that he had not even been on, and that you trusted to go with him. That is awesome. So you got to the weekend and it's going on. And so one of the things that I want to ask men also is, so you're there, and what was one way that God showed up to give you what you needed or what you wanted, or maybe something you didn't even know you were going to get? How did God show up and you just went, wow, this is why I went, this is what I needed?
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for me. The third way. I didn't really know. I just trusted Matt, and I knew they were going, and I knew that it was going to be a good thing, but I didn't really know why I was going. And even as they asked, why are you here? When I got to the gate, I said to come to a men's retreat, and didn't know even all the way through Friday night on the weekend, still didn't really know why I was there. And it wasn't until an exercise that happens around midday on Saturday is when God revealed to me why I was there. And it was a truth that I had suppressed for nearly 20 years. It was suppressed so far down that I had forgotten about it. But he revealed it to me that day in very real time, and let me know that it was time for me to give that to him and to stop.
And when you gave it to him, what happened just within you when you finally just gave it to him?
Yeah, so just scandalous grace, just total forgiveness, total acceptance. I grew up in church, so I heard about grace and knew intellectually the concept of grace my entire life, but something about me kept me from receiving it and experiencing it. And I was blocking the flow of it. But in that moment, when I fully surrendered and fully gave that up to him, he just showered me with grace.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. So your weekend was over and you got grace, and I know a lot of other things because I've been on the weekends. How has your life been different since that weekend? Man, dude, almost 11 years ago, probably close to 11 years ago. How has your life been different since then?
Coming off of the weekend and having experienced the grace, like in my deepest wound, I walked differently. I knew I was loved by God. I knew that I was covered by the grace of his son, Jesus. So I walked confidently in that, knowing that, and like resting in it. I don't know how to describe what that looked like, but I didn't carry guilt and shame. And even though I didn't know my path forward, like my path forward wasn't absolutely clear, I had this joyful curiosity and this confidence as I moved forward. And that the guilt and the shame that I was carrying, that was getting in the way of my relationships, not only with God, but with other people. And so it gave me freedom in my relationships, starting with my wife, and then especially with my 2 young children.
Yeah, because you said, when you called Matt, your mentor, and you said, I wanted to be a better husband, I want to be a better dad to my daughter, but I really want to be a better dad to my son. And that's why you went on some level, not knowing exactly why you were going on the weekend. So how do you feel like that has helped you with that first initial ask to Matt about being a father to a son? Just a little bit of how do you feel like you've gotten that as well from that weekend? How has it helped you feel like you're a better dad to your boy?
Well, having received the love and grace from my Heavenly Father that weekend, it has allowed me to see my own children, and especially my son, in that same way that I felt seen by God that weekend, and in the way that I've felt seen by him and loved by him and held by him ever since. And so I think it's absolutely changed my perspective as a father and how I see my own children. So.
That is awesome, dude. Well, hey, thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of that testimony. Anything else you would just want to say about what the weekend or Crucible has done for you that I didn't ask, but just something that you just said, man, I want people to know this. This is why I'm excited about being in this work. Somebody out there that maybe hasn't done Crucible, listening to this podcast, just what's something you could give them that you're like, man, I want you to know this.
Man, it has given me that confidence that I talked about to be real, to be who I am, to live out who God created me to be authentically, and to not hide and not feel like I've got to put on to measure up or to please somebody. It's just given me freedom to live in authenticity and to fully love and accept who I am as a man.
Yeah, and I know I have felt this, but when you've been authentic, when you've been maybe scared to share something, because I've been there, like I've been like, man, can I share this or not? And then I step in there and I share it. I know what I have found when I've shared it, but what have you found when you've shared something that maybe you were even fearful to share? What have you found the reaction to be with the other men when you share that, even in your fear?
I have found that I'm not alone, and I have found the grace and acceptance that I found on the weekend. Just like I was afraid to give that up to God. I was afraid that he would withhold his love and his grace and his acceptance, his forgiveness from me. Very similar to that. I just feel like I've gotten grace, I've gotten love, I've gotten acceptance, and knowing that I'm not alone.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, man, you know I love you. I'm so excited. You gave us a few minutes giving us your testimony. John, you know you're one of my heroes, so thank you for doing this interview this afternoon.
Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate it. It was
fun. You bet, man. God bless.
You too.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you are listening, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Also, don't forget to check out myjourney2.com for your free 2-week trial. That's myjourneyto.com. Thank you for listening.